Šajā reizē mums ir iespēja uzklausīt Somijas pieredzi un ar tematu drošības speciālistu prasmju un kompetenču prasības nākotnē uzstāsies vecākais lektors un studiju koordinators darba aizsardzības, riska pārvaldīšanas un drošības jomā Laureā Lietišķo zinātņu universitātē Somijā. Kaci Bourdache is our next speaker, so please welcome on the stage. And the floor is yours.
Yeah. Hello, how are you doing? Good morning. Great. So, there you see my credentials. I do work for the Laurea University Applied Sciences in the Helsinki area. I coordinate the Safety, Security and Risk Management degree, specifically the English-speaking one. We have it in English and Finnish. But I am also representing today a project, Secureu specifically. And our project, the full name is Digital Education Tools for Security Risk Management. And we have multiple partners in the project. I am in, Laurea is one of the partners, and I'm coordinating the part for Laurea for this project. You'll see the full partners soon. I won't be talking about the project too much, but about one specific result in it, which will be the skills and competencies required of security specialists in the future. That was sort of the one of the big questions that we started with. And of course, this project funded by the Erasmus Plus Corporation, should always mention that. Within the project, we have the following things to be produced, specifically recommendations for higher education institutions like universities of applied sciences. So what to teach, and this is part of it. Right at the beginning, we did a sort of research and discussions on what are the requirements of these professionals in security, and that would form the basis of these recommendations, and that's mostly what I'm going to be talking today. We also prepared a vocabulary within the national languages of the project countries. So we'll have a vocabulary, for example, and English in addition. So you will have from English to Latvian, and then to Lithuanian, to Spanish, to Finnish, to Norwegian, etc. on security management specifically. Producing some articles on European best practices. So all of this is open, by the way. Once we are ready, you can look at the project website. Actually, some of them are already there. And you can have a look at some of the European practices in security risk management and see what we have cooked up for you. Also, video lessons. Specifically, these are video lectures or other types of videos aimed to teach security risk management topics. And finally, practical tasks, which is of most interest to, of course, education institutions, but can be used anyone. Test your knowledge at any time. Go do a practical task that our project has produced. The partners are here, and the leading partner is Turiba. Go visit Turiba. They have us over there. So I'm also thrilled, of course, to be here, and they have invited me to present this project from Laurea. Also, we have representatives from Lithuania, Norway, the Netherlands, Spain, and last but not least, all of these are universities, but we also the DPA, of course, which is highly visible today. One of the organizers of this event is physically part of the project. And as for when can you see what we have produced, like I said, some of it already is there, but we will finish by end of this year. So it's been a while from 2022 to end of this year when we should latest, of course, finish and wrap up the project and have everything ready for you and the world. Okay, now to the actual question. So expertise for the professionals. So how did we collect this data or this information on what should they know, what should they learn? we did roundtable discussions on security specialists. And these are people specifically employed in the field with a combined total of actually centuries of security experience within the various institutions. Not only those working, there were also those for the authorities, security authorities, safety authorities, and such. But there were also people working for like retail and service industry, specifically, however, of course, in the security position. So every country or the project, let's say country that was in the project, which you can see here, had this panel discussion in 2022. And in that panel discussion, we picked the brain of these experts on what do they need. These are people that were in the position of doing actual hiring of security specialists, and we trust they know what they want. Some of the results. So, what would be the good qualities required of a security professional based on these 48 experts, specifically here? And as you can see, if you start to read through this, is the word security over there? It's not. We're talking about the goals and strategy of the organization. We're talking about communication skills, talking about project working, service attitude, analytical skills. We did not feed the respondents anything. This is what came from them. So within the security field, these are the things that they are looking for in a good candidate, in a good person working in the field. So I would emphasize, if you want my personal opinion, maybe you do, is the first one, because you need to collaborate with specific sectors within the organization and outside the organization, and communicate in writing, communicate in, you have to properly educate the staff, you need to teach the staff, you need to tell them what is required, you need to discuss with management, you need to discuss with every single employee on every level and tell them what they need to do. I mean, there are other things. I mean, literally, I think when I've been hired, I don't know if it's a mistake to hire me, but like after 10 years at the university, every time I've been hired, a big thing is simply knowing another language that was specific for the job was what put me above someone else. Even though this doesn't mention language skills, but again, that's like a personal experience. And once you get these security experts together, they all sort of start to find these, let's say, collaborative skills inside, so within and without the organizations that they work in. The other thing would be the strategy and goals of the organizations that I would emphasize. So what is the organization trying to do? So the security, like your manager is not like a grand vizier in a high ivory tower giving orders down over there, and or preparing documentation and making policies and sending the policies, putting them on the internet and emailing them. These are the policies. Or showing people or pointing out mistakes and this is wrong and this is wrong. You are there to support the organization, even though it's a public or private organization, you're there to support their actual end goals. What else? Weaknesses. So again, this is what the respondents considered some of the current weaknesses of our security professionals that could be at this moment. Different things maybe I could point out. Of course, some of these are inverse of what I just showed you. Like weak communication skills is of course inverse of good communication skills. But there are others. Like for example, very conservative. So people working in the security field, very young professionals might have a resistance to change and resistance to new ideas. So, and that's what's considered like one of the possible weaknesses at this time. Of course, this does not mean that every professional or every young professional in the field has these qualities. Specifically, like qualities that you don't want them to have. I highlighted, this is also like what the skills could be improved, or what skills could be improved by the professionals in the field. And I highlighted some of these skills here. The young security specialists I added as a special note, just so that you remember that this was specifically about young security specialists. That was the starting point of the panel discussions, etc., etc. So we wanted for each of the panel discussions to consider, of course, those that are in the studying or in the beginning phases of their career. But it doesn't really, there's multiple opportunities, of course, for everyone to learn throughout their career, of course. So what could be improved specifically? This is what we led the whole thing into. We condensed all of our results possibly into this specific picture. So strategy. Strategic thinking and strategic management, and understanding what the organization is trying to do and how. There's one. So a holistic view of what we want the organization to achieve. In the public sector, this might be a sort of a consideration. You have a legal duties, whether you work for like fire and rescue or for the police or the military or et cetera, et cetera. You have a certain specific legal task and a mandate from the people, let's say, to do something. And so that would be your end goal, but then you have like how to get there. These organizations should have a strategy in place. And in the private sector, especially like in the business sector, of course, they're looking for opportunities and risks. And sometimes, like we're talking about security management, and we tend to try to own the concept of risk. And but if you talk to a financial expert, the word risk brings to them mostly the idea of the financial risk, like where do we have our money, what is it tied into, property, or what can we buy, what do we own, what should we sell, where should we invest, should we expand, should we diversify, whatever. That's risk management for their perspective, and that's why balancing the business risks and understanding the business risks as well is important. You don't need to be, if you're like doing risk management from a security perspective, you don't need to be no one is asking you, that person, to be like a financial expert or too knowledgeable on like stock market and fluctuations and over there. But understanding, of course, they should have in the security field as well, understanding on what is covered by risk management as a whole, and what are they talking about in the financial risk field. What is a financial risk is one thing. Also strategic risks, which are of course heavily related to financial risks, meaning making strategic decisions in an organization. Again, buying, selling, purchasing, expanding, hiring. You need to work with the different parts of the organization. If you want to develop the security competence of your staff, you want it to get better, okay? Then you need to work together with, if you have a human resources department, for example, and with, of course, the management itself. I would assume the average security manager is too busy to survey every and each employee on how they're doing. Are they working safely, or are they following security instructions? Are they following information security instructions?
Probably. The real task is to make sure that the specific, let's call it line organization, like the managers, the supervisors, handle that within their sector. And you use like human resources who are in charge of hiring, personnel training, and even firing of staff to make sure that all of those working with them, that the whole process is in a good condition from a security risk management perspective. And let them handle anyway the sort of the holistic process. Like, let's say a person quits. What if a person quits? What are the information security risks dependent on that? I mean, you need to, cancel logins and empty files and get the equipment back, hardware back, etc., etc. Okay. And then you consult, and then it is understood by the management, and then it's understood by the human resources who will actually handle the holistic process of, for example, terminating an employment, no matter what the reason of the termination is. Someone just quits, like I said. Just one example out of many. And then the organizational skills depends. You might have a small team, or you might have a big team, or you might have no team at all in security risks. But anyway, you need the organizational skills to tell, for example, management, okay, this is what we need on this schedule, and this is my sort of on the proposal on how to manage it. So get to the small details even on how do you want to manage like security training, how do you want to manage security supervision in an organization, etc. That it gets to, then we get to the like the soft skills specifically. Interaction with different generations is pretty interesting, of course. I mean, this is like 15 years ago, I used to be a supervisor for the Helsinki City Rescue Department. Perhaps I was the last one. I had a member of my team who had a special dispensation to not use a computer. So he had a permission to not use a computer because just before retirement, he never learned how to use a computer. So wrote the reports on hand. So this was still like in 2000 and up to 2010, 11, etc. Maybe that has changed. So we don't get that generation, and you don't, of course, want to assume anything. But it's still like, regardless of like what your generation is, you want to listen to every generation and what they want. And as far as the research suggests, at least in Europe, the younger generation right now want responsibility, and of course they want the freedom. So they want the responsibility to manage their own work properly, including when they work, how they work, etc. That's seen a lot more important than many other considerations. Just a few sort of ideas. Of course, every person is an individual, but that's like the generic trend, for example. Yeah. IT skills is one that was pointed out specifically, and the, let's say, interconnectivity between the physical and the cyber sector is massive, and it doesn't seem to slow down really. So you need, even if you're working strictly within physical security, like in loss prevention, let's say, you are worried mostly, you work in retail, and you're worried mostly that people physically steal things. What does cybersecurity have to do with that? Well, the security systems that you use, they're all IP, they're all, there are, like the GDPR tells you what you can do with the recordings of surveillance systems. Even though that's your main consideration, you don't have to be specifically in information and cybersecurity, so for that to be important to you. Yeah. Otherwise, as maybe a note for the universities as well, is to have more practice in the study process and problem-based education. Like my personal feel right now is at least when we get to the latter half of studies, try to give practical problems and have organizations actually give the students problems to solve. And they might get some excellent, of course there's like a quantity problem if every student proposes a solution, but perhaps working in small groups and such, and give them problem-based solutions and give them feedback on that and get them to solve real-world problems. That's one thing that these experts specifically requested as well. And another note for universities, just quickly, do not avoid or exclude very basic information about security. Like fresh university students might be extremely fresh, so you don't want to assume what they know and don't know. And start with the basics and build on the problem solving quite quickly. And this is, of course, every student needs to be met at a different level. Like my students, the average age is closer to 30 than 20. So doesn't mean that those who are 20 don't know anything. But the point is that they already have experience specifically. So you want to give them what they need. Try out what they want, and there's always something new to learn, of course. All right, that about covers it, my presentation specifically. Thanks a lot, and very important, you can be in touch with me, you can be in touch with Turiba, but very important, our project website, of course, where all the materials and stuff and reports and materials free of charge are already published and are to be published this year. All right, thanks. Communication is very important, as you can see. So.
Yes, it is on. Thank you. It looks like it worked because many people actually took a photo of this slide, or you, I'm not sure, maybe both.
Yeah.
Perhaps anybody in the audience has a question. I'm not sure about Finland, but in Latvia we rarely do questions. I'll go there because we lack a microphone here, but you could just say it out loud maybe.
In the weaknesses part, you said that age was one of the sort of weaknesses. Could you please elaborate more on that? Why? What exactly is the age range that's, considered as a weakness?
Why would age be well, everyone has an age, of course, so that obviously needs more explanation. Currently it was, I think it was seen as a possible weakness was again the lack of a work and life experience possibly. And you don't get more, of course, just by aging, but you get more by working, and I think it boils down more to that, to the experience itself. And that's why I would say any young student, like you're 18, 19, 20, try to get some experience, even like a couple of months gets you a lot of things. I feel like things that I learned when I was 20, it took me a few hours to learn something that later in life, like you do years of the same thing and then you forget how do you do this, the thing that I've done for years. So very quick learning required. Yes.
Okay. Since you are from Finland, and Finland has major changes in its security strategy and policy, I believe, joining NATO, how does it feel to be a Finn nowadays?
How does it feel to be a Finn? Well, specifically on the security perspective, I mean, why in 2022 the whole idea of non-alliance changed very quickly, as Sweden comparatively. So we flipped from 30% yes to NATO to 30% no to NATO. So to 30 to 70, the percentage of the population wanted to join NATO, and that was quickly put in place. I think from a national security perspective, we're quite confident at the moment still. I mean, happy to be NATO and join the larger community and have something to offer. It also put a stop to there were discussions on putting limitations on the civil defense network. That we have an extensive civil defense like shelter network, etc. There were discussions on saving a bit of money on that, and that discussion has stopped completely. And information, and I'm teaching quite a lot of people and staff and the citizens on personal preparedness, even just having food and water and portable radio and stuff like that. And people are paying a bit more attention, but I don't think the mood is still pretty good.
That's good. And they say Finns are the happiest people in the world, or among the happiest, I believe.
Yes,
which is interesting.
Yes, and every time you tell a Finnish person that, or you put that in Finnish social media, whatever, we always say that's wrong, and that's false, and that's crazy. And next time we need to answer honestly, and then we're again the happiest nation.
Well, that's a good PR probably for your country. Anyhow, yes. Thank you so much for joining. You also have the handshake and the certificate for participation. Thank you so much.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.